came to see.
Welcome back to the Wilderness. I am your host, Daniel Bueno, and tonight, listeners, we have a powerful story from a really great friend of mine, Cody Hixon, and his daughter. Elise Hixon, right? This is a powerful story, and if you've ever wondered how, if you've been on one side of the tracks and you wonder how it affected the other and vice versa, we're going to hear from both sides, right, tonight. And I just, listeners, just buckle up, and stay seated, get your popcorn and your drink ready, because I just got a feeling this is going to be all God right here. So Cody and Elise, how are y'all tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
Fantastic. Great.
Thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely. It was, going to happen one time or another, right? And we're just waiting on God to align everything as the great chess player that he is, to make sure that the show goes live. But so, Cody, why don't we start off with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us your story.
Oh man, I don't know how long we have on this podcast. My story's pretty deep. I don't know how far back I should go. I'm not quite sure where to start, Daniel.
Let's start at the beginning.
Well,
We got an hour and a half, 2 hours until y'all fall asleep, one or the other.
Growing up was, had have a great family, always backed me, been there for me from day one. It wasn't always easy, not using that as any kind of excuse by any means, but it was tough. I'd lost my dad at an early age. I'd lost my brother at an early age. And I think after that, the wheels kind of fell off. I had some really good people in my life, coaches, mentors that, my mom, my grandmother, everyone in my family, tried to keep me on track, but I veered the other way. I tend to push the envelope to the very, very end and see how much I can get away with. And that's pretty much how I've lived my life for a long time. Ended up going to prison a couple times during some formative years for Elise. I don't know, couldn't have been easy for her. Man, I blew up relationships. I blew up awesome jobs. I blew up friendships. And, I was total destruction. I was a tornado. That went on for many, many years. I've always had God in my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And it's not until recently that I say recently, probably in the last 5 years or so, that I've really started building that intimate relationship with him, and it's just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. There's been some hiccups along the way. There's been some fights me and him have had, or that I've had, but where I'm at today, man, a lot of people that end up hearing this or seeing this will know, or that know me now, know that there's been a huge transformation in my life, and I owe it all to God,
Yeah, and I have to say that for some of it, I've been around, right?
Yeah.
We've known each other for what, 3-4 years now, maybe a little bit longer.
Maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, 3 or 4.
3 or 4 years, yeah. And I know we have mutual friends that we never knew that we had, right? And we figured that out. But I've definitely seen the transformation from the Cody that I met to the Cody that I know now. And you're right, there is a definite difference between having an intimate relationship with God and knowing God, right? And you're getting there, right? You're digging in deep, and you're trying every day to be in the Word and having a relationship with the Lord, because we know that's what's important. But let's go back a little bit, right? Let's go back a little bit during the times that Elise was young and you were in and out of prison. What were some of the things that you were involved in, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. The answer would be yes. Everything, from drugs to alcohol, women, you name it. I was living a insane lifestyle.
Right.
Like I said, it's amazing that I'm still here. And that's not just counting, from drug overdose to alcohol overdose. I mean, the amounts that I was consuming, nobody should survive. I've
Right.
rolled trucks, I've been in, a lot of people know that I was in the hospital for a while. I was 12 hours away from death just for some surgeries that I've had, health issues. I've survived death so many times that I just can't ignore the calling that God has on my life. I pray on it every day. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? And I believe I know now. I feel sorry for Elise that she had to go through these years of me going through that. I will say, I don't think I ever missed a game or a practice or anything like that, whether I was sober or not. Probably not, but I was able to, we've heard a lot of people talking about wearing a mask, right? Well, I wore that mask of sobriety for forever, and I wasn't. And it was just a part of life, man. When you have people don't understand that an addicted mind is completely a sober person does not understand an addicted mind. It's impossible until you've lived that. And this is, from my side, and until you've lived that, God, man, it's crazy. It's an insane lifestyle. I used to think, I honestly thought I was a better drunk driver than I was a sober driver.
Sober one, yeah.
I mean, the odds were in my favor, right? I got caught 4 times of 30,000. That was my thinking. I mean, how that's insane. It's insane.
It is insane to think that way, because I've actually had the opportunity to see things from both sides. I was in your position too, Cody, and you can, just let me know if this is how you felt too.
Sure.
During the times of my addiction, regardless if I was there for my son or not, regardless if I was there for my family or not, it was really all about me, right?
100%.
And I didn't, unfortunately, this is kind of hard for me to even say. Unfortunately, I didn't care about my family. That's the honest truth. I cared about being high. I cared about partying. I cared about, and this is me, right?
Yeah.
I cared about the money and the things I was able to do and buy. And I mean, a lot of people know my story and where I've come from. And it's not, everybody's like, you ought to write a movie and write a book. No, I've lived it. I don't want to relive it, right?
Yeah, right.
But
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, on that note, I mean, I could sit here and say all day long that I did care about my family, and I love my family. Like I said, I never missed a game or a practice or anything like that. But if I did really care, and I did really, if it really was that big a concern, would I have been doing what I was doing? No.
Right.
All day long, I'll tell you I did. But looking back, I mean, how can I say that I did when I was showing up, 3
Yeah.
sheets of the wind or hungover or whatever, did I really care? How can you? How can you if you're in that?
Right. And that's just pure honesty, right? And for me, the loss of my father and a lot of people, I wanted to numb out, and it made things worse for me, right? Because I had been in this lifestyle for a long time. But when I lost my father and I started losing a lot of people to drugs and alcohol and money and just being shot or whatever, I didn't want to feel it, right?
Yeah.
It got to the point where I wanted to I felt I was protecting my family, and by not being around, right? Because I felt like I was next. And to keep from that being a fear or me being afraid constantly, I was, on drugs and alcohol and partying and just doing all kinds of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, so I definitely see it from your side,
Well,
right? I've lived through.
it numbs the pain, man. It numbs the
Yes,
pain.
it does.
I think the first time I smoked weed was 5th grade, man. I was getting hammered drunk by 8th grade. And so it went, and it wasn't that I was out. I wanted to be the fun guy and the party guy. And I thought I was for a long time until I found out I was a real a-hole for
Right.
many of those years, it turns you into a different person. But for me, that was just it was a way of life. It was a way of not to think about things. And it wasn't that a lot of that I was doing by myself. I was going down to the lake by myself, Lake Ray Hubbard, wherever, or driving around. A lot of that was by myself because I didn't want people to know what all I was doing. I didn't
But the
have
funny
that.
thing is they knew.
I just and look, I had some people in my life, man. I've had some really good people, some good coaches. There was a couple people after my dad that I really looked up to, but it's not having your dad around, not having somebody that can whip your butt when you're acting up. Not that my mom didn't. She did a fantastic job at that. But, I think, for you guys that are out there, man, there's got to be a father figure in the house. There has to be a head of the house. And I think that, again, not using anything as an excuse, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But I think that's key these days, is having a male, a father in the house that can, guide you. I mean, I would say Tool Time or these TV shows back in the late 80s and 90s that's how I learned how to be a guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And unfortunately, even though Tool Time and the Cosby Show and all that were good shows, right?
Right.
Definitely showed us a way of a worldly father, not a godly father, right? Or man of the house, right? So when was your, I'm going to call it your aha moment. What was the moment that changed everything? Because you're living three sheets to the wind, right? You're going 100 miles an hour. You're going from 0 to 100, just living life the best that you know how, right? Because honestly, we're trying to numb the pain and we become idols to ourselves because we don't allow God to heal us. We figure out that the drugs and alcohol heal us, right? What was
Yeah.
your aha moment?
Man, there's been a couple. And I mean, and I say that because you would think that the first time I went to prison, the first time, and I'm away for 3 years, however long it was, you would think that would do it. Now, during that time, I did pray, God would take the taste out of my mouth from alcohol. And when I got out, I mean, really, it was gone. Like to this day, yeah, I'll have maybe a couple beers every now and then, but I can't tell you that it's just not my thing. I don't like it. It doesn't taste as well. You know what I mean? It's just not my thing anymore. And I thank God for that every day because, man, those big bottles of vodka, I was putting down every day and a half on top of 30 hydrocodones every day for 10 years. And so you, I, when I got out and at that time, I started getting involved with Encounter Church and things started going good. And then I took a detour and I got into some things that I shouldn't have been. That's on me. I own that. It ruined a relationship. I've ruined a
Before we
lot of
go,
relationships, Daniel,
so we're
because
in
of
a
my,
counter.
huh?
You're from Elise. Elise, how
What
are you?
would you like to hear from me?
You're gonna have to pull it out of her,
I'm
man.
sorry.
No, no, listen, I know this is hard. We talked earlier, this is hard, right? But people need to hear your side. You're the family member that had a father that was going through this. What was it that you were going through? What did you feel?
Well, at least the first go around, I was young. I was in 4th grade when he went to prison.
Oh man, now I'm sorry 3 times. The first time was safe. It was a safe pee. It was a rehab thing. I forgot about that. That's my bad. 3 times, got 3 times.
But yeah, I was in 4th grade, so I was young, and my mom did a good job at shielding me from the reasoning as to why he was away. And like he had said, he was coming to my games and he would come to my practices. And like I was still going over to his place every other weekend. Like we were definitely super close. And so I didn't understand really like why all of a sudden that wasn't happening anymore. And why all of a sudden, like, my mom was so mad at him for the longest. Like, they got along when they needed to. They talked at my games, my practices when he would pick me up. Like, I just never saw them fight really until he got locked away. So not only was I just like kind of confused because again, my mom was just like protecting me from the truth, but I was also like dealing with like all of a sudden, like my mom is so mad at him, and in order for at least the first time, in order for me to talk to him, it had to be set up on my phone, and my mom didn't want that. Again, she was protecting me because I'm in 4th grade. I shouldn't be like, this is a collect call from, like, she didn't want that for me, and now I understand kind of. But back then, like, there was just so much that I was just like, this is not fair. Like, I feel like I'm being left in the dark as I should have been, but in the moment, like, I'm just mad. I'm sad. I remember we had like a 4th grade talent show and I sang Let It Go with my friends, and like mom was there and my Mimi was there and even my mamaw came, and I just remember being sad, like, well, why is dad not here? Sorry, I don't want to I don't talk about these things, so like sorry if I tear up, but yeah, I just think I was more just confused. I didn't understand. So that lasted for a few years. Like, I didn't understand like the depths of it. Like, I wouldn't have even called him like an addict back then just because I really didn't know. He just said like a while ago, like whether he was showing up sober or drunk, who knows. But like, I think as a kid, I couldn't tell whether he was sober or drunk. Like, maybe we're just that good at it. I don't know. But he was just my dad. Like, that's just all I saw him as was like my dad, you know? So that one was confusing for me. And then he had talked about how he got out and he got super like in with Encounter, and I would go with him. Like I was going to Encounter with him on the weekends sometimes, and he was in this relationship at the time, and I would go and visit with all of them all the time. Like here's the thing. Every time he got out, not one time was I like, "Oh, I'm mad at him though." Like I don't want to talk to him or I don't want to see him. Like I was always so like, "You're my dad." Like I can't wait. I can't wait to like get back to how things used to be. And some people like didn't understand that. Like, why aren't you mad at him? Why are you so quick to just trust him all over again? And like Mimi can vouch for me, but like truly her and I were always his number one fans. We never held anything against him ever, and maybe I should have a few times, but I always let it go. So fast forward to what I was saying. When he got in with the church, we kind of built that relationship back. Never held anything against him. I don't even think we really had any hard talks.
I want to say there's one thing that I was blessed with when I was away was my family and a small group of friends always made sure that there was money on my books, and I don't think there was a day that went by that I wasn't able to call her. So it's not like there was no communication or anything like that.
But not to be confused in the beginning.
Right.
That was not.
Yes.
Yeah. Then the other times, yes, you could call me.
Yeah, correct. Not the first
We
time.
talked all the time, but the first time I wasn't able to talk to him unless I went to go visit my Mimi, and he called my Mimi. So like, yeah. But what was I saying? I'm sorry. Yeah, I would say that like the next time I was older and I was witnessing it with my own eyes of what was going on in that relationship, and I had my own opinions on a lot of things that entire time, that I voiced to you, which took a lot of courage. But it just felt like it didn't really matter because what I had suspected would happen did. And so this time around, it was I would say like the hardest, but the easiest almost. I would say hardest because I was aware and like I could tell now when he was messing up and and it wasn't just him involved. So I was hearing a lot of things from a lot of different people. Like people weren't really shielding it from me anymore because how long can you be protected from it when it's happening your entire life, right? So it just sucked. Yeah, it felt like a slap in the face. I'm kind of all over the place, but like every time he gets locked up, I just think back to the last time when like I would write letters because we couldn't talk on the phone. So I would write letters and have my Mimi mail them. And like I honestly still have some. He brought them back, but I mean, it's just sad. Like I would just beg, like, don't go away again. And I was never, like, getting on to him, like, "I can't believe you did this to me. Why would you do this to me?" Like, it was more just from a, "Please don't ever leave again. Like, I miss you so much, yada, yada, yada." So, like, now that I'm older, I definitely had times where I was like, "How could you read that from your 4th grade daughter begging you, like, to just never go away again, and then, like, you do it again, and then not just again, but then again." It just yeah, I don't know. I just had a lot of, like, realizations this time around, and I had the opportunity to go to the courthouse and watch them sentence him and, like, watch them put him in handcuffs, and it was a choice. I wanted to go, and I wanted to see it, and you were there, and Mimi was there, and just seeing it like, with my adult eyes, that day was so super hard for me. Like, I remember it so vividly. You were there for me, Daniel, I know that. But I don't know, that was just it was harder than I thought it was gonna be because, like, I'm like, "Dang, he's done this over and over and over again." And so just, like, witnessing it sucked. I don't know, just, like, turn around, put your hands behind your back, like, just all of that was it sucked. Yeah, I don't
Well, I
know.
know,
I don't know.
I know I've lived that life of being constantly locked up and taken away, and I know that feeling. And to be really honest with you, it was hard for me that day because here is a friend who I call a brother, right? and I'm sitting there watching you and your Mimi and going through what y'all are going through, and I get to, and for the first time, I feel what it's like to see someone you call family being taken away. It made me think of my family, right? It's like all those times that I get taken away, I ain't even really thinking about it. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do when I get there and this and that. But in the reality, I wasn't ever thinking about my mom watching me be put in handcuffs and taken away, or my family or my son, right? So in this lifetime, I have gotten to feel what it's like on both sides, right? And it sucks, right? It does suck, as Elise keeps putting it. It really does. So Cody, hearing your daughter right now talk about this time, I mean,
Man, it's tough, bro. Super tough. This whole time, or that whole time, control is my biggest thing. I've got to have it. My finger's not on it, it's going to go wrong. And I just thought I had everything under control. I know Elise has her thoughts, and everybody's got their thoughts on what happened, and how things happened. But you know what, man? I take full responsibility for what happened. Because at that time, my role was to lead a house with God first, and I didn't. It was me first. And when we saw what happened, that's on me. That's on me. I take full responsibility for that. And I didn't. And this goes back, even further. Even when me and her mom were together, and she was little, and even when I got out, I mean, all through Elisa's life, she wasn't forced to go to church or anything like that. But you don't know what you don't know. I mean, every now and then she would, we would go, but that was not a priority. And, I guess one of the biggest things that hit me the hardest, man, this was maybe a couple years ago. I gave her a Bible, right? And we were going to send Bible verses to each other every day and talk about it. Well, the first one I sent her, I'll never forget it, man, was Numbers 6:24-26. We say that a lot. And she called me, and she was like, and this is on me, but nobody taught her how to find that. And it confused her when I said numbers, like she didn't know what to look for. And right then,
hey, who calls a book numbers?
Daniel, that was an aha moment for me of how, I mean, it just in any relationship I've had, and there haven't been like a whole lot of relationships. There's been a few. They're good for about 5 years, and it blows up. It was because I'd never put God first in those relationships. It was all about me and what I'm going to get out of it.
Right.
It was selfish. That's what it was. And I hurt. Not only did I, hurt all of the people around me, but them especially. And I apologize to each one of them. I do mean that sincerely, because when you love someone, they tend to try and not keep up with you, or trying to be part of your life more. It's only when people loved me, I took them left, and it hurt them too, and it spiraled them out of control. To whereas I thought I had everything. I was in control of my life. I was going to work, doing this and doing that. Man, I wasn't in control, and it ruined a lot of relationships. I mean, I'm talking about with the women I was with, to my family, to her, to friends. I mean, that was, God, just looking back at it, man, it was just left a path of destruction that's sick.
Yeah. And what I've been hearing this whole time coming out of you, Cody, is you taking responsibility for those actions, right? It didn't matter what the other person did. It didn't matter what the situation was. I'm hearing Cody Hixon take responsibility for his actions, taking accountability for his actions, right? For reacting to the situation the way he should have, not having God center in his life like he should have, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge growth. And Elise, how does that make you feel hearing that?
It definitely makes me feel good. But it's always made me feel good. It's not the first time I've heard that. So I have seen a change in him this last time around. 100%. I'm not denying that. I do have faith in him, but I'm not gonna pretend like I'm like, yes, he's healed. Everything is good. It's gonna be great moving forward. I think I'll always have just anxiety and I don't doubt you, but I don't know, just fear. Things happen. I know everyone makes mistakes, but when he makes a mistake, it's not just
It's a grand scale. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and everything burns so fast. So yeah, I'm still a struggle. I'm still about something sometimes, but it is true. Like this version of him, truly, I can say I've never seen. So I'm holding on to that. Definitely is scary sometimes, though.
And,
Have
and
full trust in.
and I get that, I mean, it's not about, used to, I would try so hard to let people see that I was trying to change, right? I had to let people know I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. I'd post it, I'd call somebody, I'd tell everybody. Well, it's not that way anymore. I just, I totally understand where she's coming from. I get it. I get where everyone's coming from when it comes to that. Cause I'd be leery of me too. But I take each day one day at a time and just try and do the next right thing.
You wake up and you crucify your flesh every day, right? You
Day.
lay it down at the cross. You pick up your cross and you walk. And I get it, right? At least, and I'm glad that you get it and you see that, because Elise has just exuded this unconditional love from a little child every time you went away and come back. It's like I wasn't holding anything against you and just wanted her daddy and just wanted to pick up where you were at because you were gone. Now you're home. I just want my dad, right? I'm not holding this against you. I love you. And that is just an example of just this unconditional love that a child has, right? That we're supposed to experience, right? She didn't hold any records of any wrong, which is, in First Corinthians, right? She just loved her daddy, right? And I get it, right? And I don't know, if Elise knows how we met. Of course, we met in Encounter Church, but it was so funny that, how long was it? 3 years now? 4 years? 3?
Or
I was
it's
on
been 40
I
years.
had a work accident where I cut my arm pretty much off, 90% off, right? It was just hanging by one bone and some flesh. And of course, being unemployed, listeners, not unemployed, but self-employed, I didn't have insurance and I had medical bills and I had bills and stuff like that. And I was in a relationship at the time and great woman. My mom was there, a great mother. And, they stood by my side and and of course, I'm being Daniel and I'm praying for all the nurses and everything. And we're worried and everybody's worried about bills. And I'm like, God's going to take care of it. God's going to take care of it. And I wanted to get out just so I can get to service on Sunday and they wouldn't let me. And I was watching on service and I saw how everybody surrounded Beth and prayed for me. And then Cody, and this is what really solidified Cody as my brother, right? I mean, this man right here, regardless of what you heard of his past, regardless of what he's done, when he started changing his life, right? We all fall, but we get back up, right? That's what scripture says, right? Righteous man falls, and he gets back up. But all of a sudden, there's this group, was it a group? No, it wasn't a group me. It was a GoFundMe account. Cody just led the march to fund my medical and my rehabilitation and bills being paid. I mean, he single-handedly helped fund my recovery, right? And I hold him close to my heart for that, right? Because I mean, who does that to someone he just didn't really know that long, right? And then the last time that like Elise said, I was there with him, right? When they took you away and it was hard. But Cody reached out to me and said, be there for my daughter. And I said, absolutely. And I think Elise can attest that I was there for her. I had texted her, make sure she was
100%.
okay. And if she needed anything, of course she didn't. She was grown and she had, she did her own thing, and which was good. As long as I heard, I'm good. That's what I needed to hear. Right. And we kept in touch while you were locked up, right?
I
Emailed you
know.
back
Yeah.
and forth.
She told me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I would keep in touch with Cody while he was in there. And, I would never, I think maybe once or twice, there was just a plain, how you doing and stuff like that. But I would always end with some kind of scripture for him and some kind of, and some just listen, just we're here for you, right? Because listeners, I got to see it from both sides, right? And while I was locked up, I didn't care too much about how my family was doing because they were outside and I was locked up. And now I got to see it from the other side. And I'm like, ooh, I literally went to my mom and apologized for putting her through everything, right? So since the last time you have been out, what's that journey been like? Because I've seen a tremendous growth, right? So what's that journey been like?
Man, God has shown up and shown out in my life as and I'm talking big in the last 7 months. I've been out over a year now this last time, but the last 7 months have just been I'm the guy. Okay, and those that know me, I'm hard-headed, man. I'm a see it, touch it, feel it kind of guy, and the times that I felt prior to 7 months ago, I felt God speak to me 3 times. And those 3 times were big, big, big ordeals to me. It's unmistakable. I've shared it in Encounter. I just knew it was God talking to me, God showing me something, right? So I'm just that kind of person, though. It takes something big to get my attention, no matter what it is. And the last 7 months, man, I've just been overwhelming, to say the least. Before that, and this is really bad to say, but it's true. I never once would be the guy that would pray over a meal. I never prayed for my wife. I never prayed for the women in the relationships I had. I never prayed over my family. I never put my hands on my daughter and prayed over her. I never did that. And I don't know if it was, crying. I'm a baller, man. When I start getting into this, I'm like a Pastor Benyon. I will bawl at the drop of a hat. But I don't know if I just saw it as a sign of weakness, because I never had that. I never had anybody teach me how to do that. Right. It just felt like weakness to me and it's crazy. I get it. But, these days, totally different. It's, God has shown me some things in the last 7 months that I can't explain. We've had a conversation about it. We don't need to go all into it because it's not for everybody. Right. It's not, but, um, I feel that I've gotten my purpose, and my direction is more clear on who I need to be, who I need to reach, and who I can reach. A lot of people aren't going to be reached from the pulpit. It's just that, they need to hear somebody that's been in the trenches, and God knows I've been there, and things are a lot more clear to me. If you don't, if you ride with me, you better expect to listen to worship music and listen to it loud. That's just what it is these days. I don't, I'll pray over anybody, and I'm not the best prayer, but it's not me. It's not my words. And I understand, every day I wake up and I pray to God. I say, let me touch somebody's life today. Give me the wisdom and give me the words. Right. And every day it happens. And it's the last 7 months, especially, have just been, wow. Wow.
Elise, how's your walk, man?
I definitely believe in God and I have faith, and like I've gone to church with my dad. My parents, they go to different ones, so I'm kind of like all over the place with it. I'm not as consistent as I should be, probably. Or I know.
I will say this, where that fell on me, um, there's definitely been improvement in that area. She's with a guy, she's engaged.
Yes.
And his family is awesome, and have a strong background. Or Catholic, I believe, right? But, God is center in their life as well. So both of them are getting it from both sides of the family on how important God first in their life. So,
And
Just true.
when you got locked up this last time, like I said, he was super involved with Encounter. And like was upset with myself because I had said I'm gonna go every Sunday, like, because that's where he would have been. I thought it would make me feel like not as far. And I went like 3 weekends in a row. I didn't know there was a family there, I don't remember their names, but he would let me sit next to them sometimes. They have all the kids. But I found that in I left more sad, and like it just made me feel the opposite than what I thought it would. I just
Right.
felt like I missed him more inside of those walls, and I almost just felt like I didn't really belong there because I didn't know anyone, but everyone knows me, right? Like everyone knows what happened to me. Everyone knows my dad, so I don't know. Maybe that was just like my own insecurities, but it almost felt embarrassing. And then on top of that, it just made me miss them so much. So I did, but like I've always known it is important. Sometimes it was just hard.
Right.
That's
And of
for sure.
course, you know,
Agree.
And of course, you know, Uncle Daniel likes to be in the front, right? Jumping around with his hands up and everything. And Elise didn't want to go up there, right? But I wasn't going to force her. I was just happy if she's there. But now that you're saying why you stopped going, I definitely understand, right? I definitely understand going to a place where you and your dad would go and he's not there, you're there, you miss him. And so it's understandable, right? One thing I will tell you is don't beat yourself up, right? Just because you're not where you think you should be in your journey with God, don't beat yourself up. Don't let it become a legalistic mindset that because you haven't gone or you didn't go or you're not doing this, right? That you beat yourself up to the point where you just stop, right? Come to a point where you just start. Just pick up your Bible and just read a verse, read 2 verses. Call your dad and talk to him about God or whatever. Right?
And we
Start
do that in
somewhere.
I think that's in our relationship now. Again, I would never talk to her about God, but now that's just about every time we talk, there's something about, what God's doing, and she even, I think there was a friend somewhere in her complex that, had a life-changing event, which we had a long talk about that. So, I mean, I think she's surrounding herself with the right people. Obviously, I can't, she's not that fourth grader anymore to where I could say, get your purse and get in a truck. But I know she's got a hunger there. My prayer for her, I've told her this, is I pray that she gets that intimate relationship with Jesus Christ, like I feel I have. And that's very, very important to me. I know it's very important. Obviously it's very important to me, but it's just, it's once you get that and you have this encounter, this experience, it's just being hugged by the Holy Spirit. It's just, something, man, you can't put words to.
You can't. And Elise, have you had any experiences like that since Dad's been home? Yeah, something that you've seen God working in.
Honestly, like with him or like just in my own
Just
life?
period. Just period.
For sure. Yeah, this last time, like around, which wasn't that long ago when you've been out for a little over years. I was like, I don't want to like super duper get into it, but and everyone goes through things, but I was just at a really like bad spot to be in. When you were in Rockwell, like before you got transferred to like a
Yeah.
bigger, like more permanent prison, I would go up there and see him. I think I only did it twice, but I was like, I'm just gonna open up. Like, I'm just gonna tell him like what is going on because I'm not gonna see him for like, I didn't know at the time. So I'm like,
Days of my life.
I'm just gonna, like, he deserves to hear it, honestly. And I told him, not, I don't want to sound rude, but I almost wanted to open up just because I wanted him to know what it felt like. I always ran to my mom or like my Mimi. They know my problems. They knew all the details. I never ever put that on him ever, really. I don't know exactly why, but I just never did. So when I went in there that day and we're separated by a glass wall and we're holding phones, I thought to myself, I want him to listen to this as a dad and no, he can't do anything. Like, you can't leave. Like, what can you do about it? Like, I'm on the outside. Terrible things are happening and you can't do anything. So yeah, it was hard for him. I hardly have I really ever seen him cry. It makes me cry. But it was like I saw the pain in his eyes and I also saw like the anger. Like, honestly, I thought he was gonna break through the glass. I was scared. But yeah, so it was I was just going through a lot and I'm just nowhere near that same girl behind that glass telling him those things. Like, I feel just so like elevated and like I just wish I could go back and hug her to tell her you're gonna be fine. And that has to be God, right? Like,
Absolutely.
oh, so much has changed so fast and like she's almost unrecognizable to me. Like, so I still think about it to this day often. Yeah, I'm just not there in that position anymore, and I'm just grateful. So I think your question was, have I had that moment? Just the realization I have come pretty far, and I'm just being proud of myself.
So God meets you where you're at, and some people don't need that explosive aha moment like I did,
Right.
or like, friends of ours in the church that, some people just accept God for what it is, for who he is, and go on about their life and just blah, blah, blah. But for me, it takes earth shaking events. It takes lights from, it's got to be powerful. Elise, some people just don't need that hoorah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. But there's definitely been a change in her. Yeah, that was a tough day, boy. But that right there, Daniel, well, I did want to come through the glass, not at her, but to protect her, to hold her. I remember going back to my cell and I was ready. At that moment, it was bring it. Anybody, I didn't care who.
Right.
Shortly after that, I went into my cell after some things, and I went into my cell and I opened the Bible and I said, I'm going to forgive this person once. And I started praying. And dude, from that day on, from Rockwall County to when I got out of the Bradshaw unit, I was leading Bible studies. It started with me and a guy named Tommy. And I'd open up a rack of cookies and we'd just sit there and read the Bible. And then more people came and more people came and more people came. And we had like 18 people when I left and Tommy took over in a few months. Things happened this last time in prison that don't happen in prison. But I chose that time to forgive and to, not partake in the politics, that go on there. And put God first. I didn't run with anybody. I didn't do any of that. And amazing things started happening from that point. So it really
Yeah.
started in prison, to be honest.
And what's funny is I had that same the last 2 years that I was there, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you got to be on one side or the other, and if you don't, it's gonna be hard on you." Listen, I can tell you by experience, it was a lot easier when I gave my life to the Lord, and I was like you in my word in front of everybody. When I was praying, when I was out loud praying, when I was leading Bible studies, when I was whatever the case may be, right? For some reason, everybody else was like, "Okay, this guy is hands off," right?
Yeah.
It's like before is this guy's hands off because who's he affiliated with? And now it's like he's hands off because who he's affiliated with, right?
100%.
You know,
100%.
but and there's one thing I do want to say is that I envy about, no, I don't want to say envy. That's the wrong word. That I admire about both of y'all is that y'all still have a strong relationship and y'all are building on that. And y'all are moving forward, right? I mean, I honestly wish that I had that with my son. My son's 22 years old, and I don't have the kind of relationship that y'all two have. And I pray for it every day, So definitely keep me in y'all's prayers for that, because I know God's going to answer that one day soon, right? But to see the fact that y'all are moving forward, and yes, at least there's this little bit of non-trust, right? And this fear of, could it happen again? Will it happen again? And you're wanting to, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because now your dad has to walk what he's talking, right? He has to be an example by his walk, and not just give you, a fairy tale story about he's changing. He has to show you, right? And he has to show the rest of the world. And when I say the rest of the world, the family, right? And I know that it's hard, but I know it's possible. I sit here, man, that every single one of my relationships have been redeemed by the Lord, and my 22-year-old son to an extent, right? It's not as close as y'all, but it's still been redeemed. So I know it's possible. It's very possible.
We put them in some tough spots, Daniel,
We
I
have.
certainly wouldn't fault, Elise for those feelings, not one bit. I mean, we kind of we deserve what we get, from what we've put them through. So yeah,
Right. And just watching Elise right now, I can see the tears you're holding back, and I want to cry because I feel like I'm the one that put you through it, right? Because I know I've put my son through it, and I think this is how he feels, except he hasn't expressed it to me yet, right? So yeah. So
definitely keeping your prayers on that, Daniel.
absolutely,
Sure.
thank you.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that till just now. So
Right.
I'm glad you shared that.
Well, this podcast has been very transparent for me and a lot of my guests, right? So it's become a very therapeutic show for myself. There's been some moments I'm like, oh, okay, Thank you, God, for just gut punching me there and telling me where I've been wrong, right? So now you mentioned it earlier, and I've said congratulations before, and I will say it again. Congratulations, Elise, on the engagement.
Thank you.
So hopefully I get to meet this young man soon. So where are we at right now? I mean, I know where you're at with your walk, right? So what are we doing now? You know, both of y'all.
You and Cody. Oh, his name's Cody, by the way. Cody with
What?
a K. Yeah.
Okay.
How crazy is that? He's a
Man.
good kid, man. You know what? We all want best. We want what's best for our children, and you know, I've prayed for that for at least for a long time, and I will give it as much as it pains me to say. He's a good kid, man. I could take lessons from him. I mean, he's that good. He treats her so good, and I couldn't be more thankful that she ended up with somebody like him.
Good. I've seen some pictures, and they definitely look really happy.
He's good.
Yeah, he is. Basically what he said. He is good. I promise.
Better be. If I find out different, well, you know.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding.
That's
He's
not who we are anymore, Cody, right? Because I wanted to say
Yeah.
that too. You know, I'm very protective of my
I said it
adopted
for both.
niece.
No.
I'm very
No,
protective
he's
of
good.
Elise, right? I call her my adopted niece, right?
Yeah.
But absolutely. Listen, this has been an incredible hour, right? The transparency from both of y'all was more than I expected, right?
Me too.
At least you're a very strong young woman, right? And you exude the love of Christ in so many ways, from unconditional love for your father, forgiveness, right? So don't ever let anybody dim that light, right? Because you may not know what your kingdom assignment is yet, but it's coming. It's coming,
Yeah.
right? And maybe it's to be an advocate or a voice for families or children who are going through the things that you went through. I don't know, but that was just something
Yeah,
that
man. I
just
mean,
dropped on my heart.
hey, and I'm, you know, we're all partial to our children, but you know, this girl here has got the biggest heart of anybody I've ever seen. And I mean, there isn't a person, a pet, whatever that she will not give her all to help. You know, I mean, she carries a heavy, I don't know if it's a heavy burden or she carries a lot on her shoulders and wants to just help everybody. And she'll get it. She'll find it.
He's lucky I'm that way.
I am. I'm very blessed. For every, I'm very blessed from everybody that's in my life. I could name off 15 names right now at the church that I could call at any time and lay something on them and get that will hold me accountable. And that's something that I've never had before. So thank you, Daniel, for being one of those people.
Absolutely. Thank you for being there for me when I needed it, right?
You bet, brother. You bet.
So, listeners, for those that are listening now and those that are going to listen later, you know, I just want to say, if you're in the position that me and Cody were in, we need to stop and think about what we're doing to our children, how we're hurting them, right? You know, because a lot of the times during those years, we weren't thinking about it. We weren't. And we hurt and scarred our children, you know, deeply. You know, for those that are in Elise's position, right? That have a parent that was like us. I mean, I just want you to just let the words that she spoke on this podcast tonight on the show echo in your ears, because she has shown, and even to this day, an amazing amount of unconditional love and forgiveness and mercy for her father, right? And it's all a process of work, right? And we're not just going to wake up tomorrow and those feelings of doubt or whatever are going to go away, right? It's a process. And that's what we want you to understand. And this is a process, right? But when you're wanting it to happen, and you're willing to do whatever it takes for it to happen, anything's possible. Guys, we have to step up as godly men. We have to become the leaders of our homes, the leaders of our family. Me and Cody didn't do that for a long time. We're doing it now, you know, and it's never too late for you to step up. Become the leader of your home. Become the men that God created us to be. And let's set that bar high for our children, right? So they know if we have sons, let's set the bar high for that, so they know how to treat, how to act, and how to be fathers and mothers. I mean, fathers and husbands and brothers. If we have daughters, let's set the bar high on what they need to see as an example as a godly man, right?
Right.
We're blessed that Elise is engaged to a godly man, and right, and she's going to be marrying a man that's going to set that bar high, right? And that's a good thing. But men, we need to step up. We really do, and we need to stop hurting our children, stop hurting our families, just because we're selfish. Let's just be honest, right?
That's what it is.
I just want to get this off my chest, but I do just want to say though that this like image of what a godly man consists of, meaning your head of household, like I don't know, I just feel like there's this stigma around men in general, and if you show any sign of weakness or you feel literally you just have any feelings other than okay or you're fine, then people, or not, maybe not people look at you, but like you just feel weak. I think if my dad allowed himself to feel the emotions of what he went through after losing his dad and then losing his brother, maybe he wouldn't have ended up so far gone. I think a lot of men in general just put on this brave face because that is just the stigma. That's what I see it all the time. I saw it in him. It's okay. Like you're allowed to be sad and you're allowed to cry and you're allowed to grieve. That does not make me think any less of you, or whether it's Cody or whether it's you. I don't know. I don't think it makes you weak. You need to help yourself sometimes, and grieving and feeling helps yourself. So maybe we start there, not
Yep,
just
listeners. Yeah, I hear that. No, there's listeners right now that are crying for what she said. I'm tearing up. I'm gonna be honest with you. Do y'all hear that, man? This is advice from a young woman, right? She's letting you know it's okay to feel. It's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. Don't sit with the stigma that this world tells you that a man is, because that's not a real man, right?
it comes out eventually in all the wrong ways, whether it's in relationships or alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
That's something I have definitely learned throughout everything with him. He preached it all the time. You talk about it, you can talk about it. That's something I've definitely struggled with. Even I tend to build things up and then explode. So that's something I'm working on still, but yeah, he told me that all the time and I never saw it from him ever. He was always the guy everyone liked, happy, funny, fine, but he wasn't fine though.
There was
Let's
a
take
message
off.
just on that. Yeah.
Just take off the mask. Just take off the mask. Yeah. And Jonathan says, "Thank you, Cody, for sharing your testimony, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and show emotion is not easy." Kimberly says that Elise is a natural nurturer, which we agree. That says, "Praying for all of you and your relationship with your children, the bravery for you both, Elise, to be honest with your dad, and for your dad to receive what you said." Yeah, guys, this has been powerful. I thank y'all. I thank y'all
Thank
for
you.
that.
Men, step up, me included. I'm not putting, I've got a lot of work to do, but the answer is yes, I'm in. And if anybody that listens to this needs to talk, you got my Facebook, whatever. Call me, man. Well, because we can't do, I think it was Negron that said this last Sunday, you can't do this alone, right? You got to have accountability. And without that accountability, then you're going to end up where I was. I
Right.
promise. So
Yeah.
you gotta get a circle. You can't do this alone. So
Absolutely.
let me know.
Absolutely. You heard that, guys. If you need to reach out to Cody, me, if any young ladies that are going through what Elise has gone through and God puts it on your heart to reach out to her, reach out to her. She's shaking her head yes. So you see that she's agreeing. And I'm speechless at this point, which is kind of hard for me being the host, right? But
I mean, it was draining. This was an emotionally draining hour.
but I really
Goodness
think y'all
gracious.
needed this. I really think y'all needed this. I needed it just as much as y'all did. I promise you that. I got some things out of this, and I definitely felt some weight lift off, right? So everybody, this Friday, we will not have a show. I am actually heading out of town tomorrow afternoon, and I won't be back till Saturday. So we're going to take a break until next Monday, right? Next Monday, we'll have a guest on the show, and I'll announce it later on in the week. Also, November 22nd, I need y'all to put that on your calendars. Stand for Christ and From the Streets to the Streets are going to be doing an outreach in Quinlan. It's probably going to be either Easy Living or Rolling Oaks. I haven't been told yet. It's one of those, more likely Rolling Oaks. But we're going to do an outreach for Thanksgiving for them. We are reaching out. We're wanting donations. We're needing donations, not just wanting donations of food, turkey, ham, so we can feed a lot of the people out there that are not going to have a Thanksgiving, right? Because they just don't have it they don't have the financial funds to do it, right? And that's what we're here to do. We're here to be here for the community, and that's what Stand for Christ and From the Streets. That's what we stand for, right? This podcast is under the umbrella of Stand for Christ. So let's, I don't want anybody to think that the podcast is the ministry, which it is. It's its own ministry in its own. We're doing some good with it. So if you want to help with food for the outreach on November 22nd, send me a DM. I'll let you know where you can either donate money to the ministry, or you can, if you want to buy the food, we can arrange to pick it up. So, and that's really it for this week.
Daniel, we appreciate it, man.
Will you close us out in prayer? And then after you do, if y'all stay on for a little bit after you do.
All right. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this last hour and a half. It's been so powerful. Thank you for Elise and allowing her to open up. Thank you for Daniel and him allowing us to put our story out there. Lord, just thank you for all our blessings. Ask you to forgive us for our sins and just to continue to bless it, Father. These things in your name, amen.
Amen. Amen. And I thank y'all, listeners. Listeners, we will see you next Monday. Good night.
When you speak, time begins. When you speak, darkness ends. When you speak, you calm the noise. There is power in your voice, and every single word that you say of me